In the wake of the tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut, Senator Dianne Feinstein, the author of the 1994 assault weapons ban, launched an effort to pass a revised version of that bill in the 113th Congress. Her argument:
like all of you here today, I remain horrified by the mass murder committed at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. I'm also incensed that our weak gun laws allow these mass killings to be carried out again and again and again in our country. Weapons designed originally for the military to kill large numbers of people in close combat are replicated for civilian use. They fall into the hands, one way or another, of grievance killers, of gangs, of those who are mentally unstable or ill. They are sold out of trunks and back seats of automobiles in cities, as well as gun shows, with no questions asked. Massacres have taken place in businesses, law practices, malls, movie theaters, and especially schools. These massacres don't seem to stop. They continue on. Columbine, Virginia Tech, Aurora, Tucson, Oak Creek. The common thread in these shootings is each gunman used a semi-automatic assault weapon or large-capacity ammunition magazine. Military-style assault weapons have but one purpose, and in my view that's a military purpose: to hold at the hip if possible, to spray fire, to be able to kill large numbers.
Reaction from the National Rifle Association and its supporters was passionate and immediate.
Banning these firearms is not going to accomplish very much.
What about the ammunition magazines? The White House proposes limiting ammunition magazines to no more than 10 rounds.
You know, that sounds good. They did it last time they had an assault weapons ban. And, you know, in fact, there have been studies of how many cartridges are used in the average violent crime, and it's about 3.
But what the White House is suggesting is that if the high-capacity ammunition magazines had not been available, there wouldn't have been time to kill as many children in Connecticut, as many people in the theater in Colorado.
Sure, I mean, that sounds reasonable. I'm not saying it doesn't sound reasonable. In one case, it might be true. In other cases, it might not be. But I can tell you this: if you're familiar with a rifle of this kind, or a rifle fed by a clip, a shooter, and I'm not talking about an expert, can change the clip like that in less than a second.
And Wayne LaPierre, the Executive Vice President and Chief Executive Officer of the National Rifle Association, reacted even more bluntly.
While we're ready to participate in a meaningful effort to solve these pressing problems, we must respectively but honestly and firmly disagree with some members of the committee and many in the media and all the gun control groups on what will keep our kids and keep our streets safe. Law-abiding gun owners will not accept blame for the acts of violent or deranged criminals, nor do we believe that government should dictate what we can lawfully own and use to protect our families. As I said earlier, we need to be honest about what works and what does not work. Proposals that would only serve to burden the law-abiding have failed in the past, and they'll fail again in the future. Semi-automatic firearm technology has been around for 100 years. They're the most popular guns for hunting, target shooting, self-defense. Despite this fact, Congress banned the manufacture and sale of hundreds of semi-automatic firearms and magazines from 1994 to 2004. And independent studies, including one from the Clinton Justice Department, proved that it had no impact on lowering crime. And when it comes to background checks, let's be honest. Background checks will never be universal because criminals will never submit to them.
Rather than trying to analyze the merits of the NRA's arguments against Senator Feinstein's proposed legislation, let's take a quick look at a totally different issue tied to the safety of American children. This, as you might well know, is a child's safety seat. It was first invented in the 1960s, And between 1978 and 1985, all 50 states adopted laws that required operators of motor vehicles to use a quote-unquote baby seat whenever they had their kids with them in the car. The statistical impact on the safety of America's children because of this legislation was dramatic.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Davidson.
And I'm Jennifer Ryan.
We're with AAA, and today we'll tell you a little bit about child passenger safety. Motor vehicle crashes are a leading cause of death and injury for all children. Fortunately, there is something that we can do to prevent this. Car seats, when used properly, reduce the risk of injury by 71 to 82%, and booster seats can reduce injuries by 45% when compared to the seatbelt alone.
But the real punchline here, in the context of the assault weapons ban debate, is a simple, unchallenged fact. Children's deaths in motor vehicle accidents have not ended. But while those tragedies are still with us, we have, by collective legislative action and the intervention of what some have called the nanny state, move things in the right direction. Fewer kids die, and fewer kids are injured in motor vehicle accidents today because of this legislation. So no, we haven't eliminated that particular threat to our children, but we have significantly shifted the odds in their favor. And there is no reason why we can't do that again if we have the political will. But that leaves us with a key question, a question that should tug at the heartstrings of those of us who are parents and grandparents and voters.
This is our first task, caring for our children. It's our first job. If we don't get that right, we don't get anything right. That's how, as a society, we will be judged. And by that measure, can we truly say, as a nation, that we're meeting our obligations? Can we honestly say that we're doing enough to keep our children, all of them, safe from harm?